Here's a little thing I made. I'm going to call a PLC trainer. It might look like it used to be a Makita drill box, but it's actually an A kit, short for automation kit. But I basically wasn't sure where I was going with this. And this is what I ended up with. And this is a programmable logic controller known as a PLC. This particular one normally comes with, I think I won't zoom in, but 14 inputs and 10 outputs. So it's digital ins and digital outs. But this particular one right here, all the, I guess like the first 5 or so outputs don't work. I'm basically left with 5 outputs, and I wasn't really sure what to do. So first I figured I would add like a little relay module to sort of extend the functionality. Along the way, I sort of realized that was kind of derailing from the whole point of a PLC trainer, so I ended up just using that to control a DC motor. So I've got a little DC motor as one of the switchable loads, and that's the majority of what's going on here. So basically just using a pair of relays here to swap the polarity back and forth to these motor leads, which end up being on each common terminal of the relay here. If that makes sense, it's just kind of a cool way to do it. Got this lamp here. That's more or less it. The whole functionality comes down to these switches here and these lights. So I'm just gonna cut it on, and it's in run mode. And as it stands, I've got the enable switch off, right? So you see no inputs are on, and before anything does start working, then it needs that enable signal. So it needs that first input to be high. So once I cut the enable on, then you can see this input goes high. Then I've got an output, which is probably this green light. Now I can play around and, cut that light on. Obviously, it's just a particular in and out. I can cut the motor on. See, I'm actuating the green light for go and the red for stop. Then I can also change the direction of the motor. Just do that while it's going. Alright. So that's just how that will be set up to where, let's just say I've got the enable off, then it's not going to let me do anything. It's always going to be on a hard stop. Nothing works, so everything needs that enable. It's just a simple feature that you can add in the coding, which is not really even coding, it's just basic instructions more or less, right? So now you can see I've got a momentary here, and that's just one I added so you can get the timer feature there. So I have to hold that down for 1 second before that light comes on, or I can leave it on with the switch like so. So I don't know, I just thought that was kind of cool. Little PLC setup. But the thing is, I guess the whole point is, like, you can see this basic functionality on what might sort of resemble some kind of control panel somewhere. All I've got is these 2 loads, just doing various things. Cut that back off. And I've got all this wiring, that needs to go into that. Thing doesn't want to focus, but literally so many damn wires just to accomplish these basic things. But as far as a basic trainer goes, probably the better idea would just be stick to something maybe like this size altogether. Just put a bunch of little lights on there and different kinds of switches, so then you can just program different things in. This ends up being what the instructions look like. It's pretty much that simple. Just got like normally open switches are normally closed, and then when they actuate, they output. Here's the timer. Here's just sort of an example. I've got a push button toggle. I've got a push button, momentary, and a toggle switch that are both running the same output. So then you kind of have to break it down like this, where either or will output to the lamp. Output 0.5 is the lamp, and sort of an example, that's how I learned where if I separate these, then it's just not going to work. So what would really up the ante there would be adding some kind of analog inputs You know, being able to control something, 0 to 10 volts or like 4 to 20 milliamps, something like that with an analog signal. But otherwise, yeah, pretty cool.